y'all, welcome back. This is Michelle from Michelle's Empty Nest, and today we're going to dive into two more stories in my December Daily 2021 album. As a reminder, I am doing the A to Z. I don't know if you'd call it a challenge, more like a method where my stories are alphabetical. So I'm not doing day number 1 or day number 2. So there are 26 stories, plus I filled in a few extras to make it out to 31 days because I do like to do all 31 days in my album. So we are almost to the end of, I think, what this first album is going to hold. I think it's going to go through L, and then I plan to move into my next album. And today we are doing stories. Let's see, I did H last time. Yeah, so we're doing I and J today, which is Illumination and Jammies. One of them is going to be very quick and simple to put together. The other one has a lot of moving parts and pieces. There's going to be some machine stitching and lots of stuff, some pockets, all kind of things going on. So I'm going to go ahead and get you put on fast forward. We'll get these two put together. So let's do it. Okay, I am going to go ahead and set my album to the side and then start getting out what I need for this story for letter I, which is Illumination. And you'll notice that there are some tags there that end up not getting used. I completely forget that I intended to make a pocket and do a little journaling on those, but that's okay. I'll have them to use later this year or next year. So I punched holes. I showed you that tree paper. I created that from a lesson that Barbara did in her product play class for this year, and I loved it. It is so fun. The texture, the dimension, it wasn't that hard to do. And so I knew I wanted to pair it with my Christmas tree photo. And I went with this kind of a light, like maybe a khaki color is what I would call it. Because even though my walls in the house are a light gray, in this photo they look more to the brown taupey side. So the gray paper just did not look very well with the photo. So I ended up putting the trees just on that brown khaki colored background. And then I took the picture of the tree very off center because I knew I wanted to use that blank wall space to put in this calm and bright piece. So I was using the Barely Arts Precision Glue. And I'm going to put that in place onto a transparency. I like to flip up transparencies and still see that something comes up off the photo and have the photo underneath. I don't know, maybe it's kind of quirky, but I just like to do that. And so I cut a graphics transparency sheet from a 12 by 12 down to this 8.25 by 11. And speaking of that, I do not have a large size printer, of a large format printer. But if you have a borderless printer, you can do those photos all the way out to the 8.5 by 11, and you can make them size to the 8.25, so they're exactly the same height as the papers that came in the kits. So don't think you can't use this size album with large photos if you don't have a large format printer, because you totally can. All right, so then on this one, this is going to be J for Jammies, and I'm creating a pocket out of this photo. It's kind of an odd size photo, but when my husband turns his phone landscape, they end up being like really landscaped. So that's what I end up using for the pocket. And then I'm going to come back to that little 4x6 journaling card later. So I had this photo that my husband took of himself, and when I saw it, I thought it's going in the album, and I wanted to turn it black and white and use it on this same photo that you see right now. So it's going to be just kind of off to the side in that blank space. For some reason, I don't know if I just didn't give it time, but this Barely Arts Precision Glue did not glue that acetate frame to the photo. It was like it just never even happened. So I grab over my tiny attacher, and I'm going to use it at the top and the bottom. And then I didn't think that the glue may not hold the frame down. and I wanted to have the frame in addition to the photo actually adhered. So I grabbed the thinnest red line tape that I have, and I'm going to put that on there, and then I'll save you the just absolute chore of watching me struggle to get all this release paper off. I think I cut out most of it. There we go. But I do put some Barely Arts precision glue back onto the photo itself to help it stick as well. So I'm going to get that in place, and then I'm going to turn my attention to the other side of this spread. It's again a 2-page spread, but I lose a little footage here because I had shown you where I had taken these 2 frames, like film strip frames, off camera and stitched them together with a zigzag stitch, which was hard to do. I struggled with that. I'm not a great sewer in the first place, but it was hard to do. So I turned them upside down on this leftover circle that I had cut out from something else and traced out the exact places where those were going to go in case there was any difference in the sizes. And then as you saw there, when I trimmed out those the pattern paper squares, I did cut outside of the lines because I wanted them to be under the frames. So these are like some outtakes and just some pictures with our pets that we used when we were taking our jammy photos in front of the tree. So I thought it would be fun to include some of those. And I'm building this on just like a little bit thicker piece of copy paper. It's a 32-pound paper. And I've already made a hinge. You missed all that as well, and I'm sorry, but I made a hinge and created a flip up, and you'll see in a minute how it flips up. And I did like the happy planner style notches with my scissors on the top photo so that it can lift up off of the rings. And y'all, it wouldn't be a Michelle layout if there wasn't some adhesive somewhere on a photo. So that's what I was trying to work with right there. And then I'm just using these stamps to kind of hold these frames in place because they just needed some help. And I used a lot of staples too, more than I wanted to, but I just felt like that's what I needed to make them be secure. So then I go through and I'm pulling out all of my stuff that are in these little containers, the little pieces from previous years. That one piece, that circle that's above our head right now, that is from this year's kit. Let me turn my page here, my album. It says Holiday Traditions. And then I keep going until I find 2 other circles that I like, that the colors were right and the sayings were okay. So the green one says Deck the Halls and the red one says The Wonder of the Season. And so I liked having the 3 circles. And then you see I also pulled out a little rectangular green chipboard piece. This one right here, it says Holiday Happiness. With there being so much red and having that one green circle and just that little bit of greenery in the frames, I felt like I needed one more spot of green. So that kind of made me happy to, get that. It's not a visual triangle, but it's showing up in 3 places, and that usually makes me happy. So here is the page that I have created with all of this heavy, heavy stuff on it. So I'm going to use a lot of tape here and then get it taken off and adhere it to the back of this tree photo from the illumination story. So I'll get that done. And I messed up here a bit and I was about to panic, but I just kept pulling and it came up okay. And then I have to trim just a little tad off there. So I'll get all that taken care of. And then I think I'm going to come back here and put it in my album. Yeah, and I'll kind of show you what it looks like. And you'll see it again at the end when I do the kind of the wrap up with you at the end. There we go. It flips up real quick with like I said, the happy planner style, notches. So then I've printed off my journaling on Mako clear matte sticker paper. I'm going to get that on this card, burnish it down really well so it just kind of fades and melts into the background. And that will finish me up for today. So I will be back to talk with you here in just a second. Thanks, guys. Okay, that's where we're going to call these two spreads good. I did want to go back and show you real quickly from the last video for H, when I did the hot cocoa in my cup. I was a little unsure as to whether I was going to put an Avery Index tab on the transparency or on the photo itself. And I had a subscriber that actually suggested putting it on the transparency, which I thought was a great idea. So that's what I ended up doing. And it just says Moment of Magic. And I used that Allie Edwards Tiny Phrases stamp set that I've been using almost every time I do an Avery Index tab. And she also said she liked that I did not put this chipboard piece on the transparency. That way it did not interfere with the photo. So I thought that was a good idea as well. Then when we get to today, I absolutely loved these trees that Barbara created in her product play lesson from this year's class. And she is Babs510, B-A-B-Z 510 over on Instagram. And so I wanted to create those trees to go along with the photo of my tree for illumination. And then I wanted to use that Calm and Bright. And I'm sorry, I'm probably making lots of glare by moving that around. And then off camera, I went and added the Avery Index tab here on my photo. It says Twinkle, Twinkle, Twinkle. I just kind of did some repeat stamping on that. And I put it on this one, even though it's a full-size photo, because this is a heavy, thick page, and it almost feels like you're trying to pick up more than one page. So I put that there to let people know that it is one page. And also, it kind of helps hold on my frames that I used here. So this is the completed spread for J, which is Jammies. And you saw I kind of did like just a quick flip. I think in the process video part. Some photos of us, kind of some outtakes, and then some with our pets in there. This was kind of like the best one of us sitting in front of the tree. And then I couldn't resist including this one just as a funny one with us throwing some deuces there. And then I loved this selfie that my husband took of us after we got up out of the floor and moaned and groaned because we're old. We stood in front of the tree and he just took a few selfies of us, and so I thought I would include that one as well. And I saw this on his feed comes into mine for me to be able to use his photos as well. So I just thought that would be perfect to put on there and turn it black and white to have it be a little bit of a standout feature. And then I'll read my journaling real quick. It's short. So I used the Finding Joy 4x6 card from this year's kit. And it says, "Is there anything better than Christmas jammies? Seriously. They have been a tradition for our boys since they were born. Now that we are empty nesters, we still buy new jammies for them every Christmas, but I have started ordering matching PJ pants for Olin and I from Hannah Anderson. They are the absolute softest, and I love the prints. Olin is always such a good sport to play along with all of my shenanigans. This was no different. And as usual, he really gets into the fun. I loved including some outtakes and funny photos this year. So dang good." So that was just my quick journaling there that I put in as a in the photo as a pocket. And that finishes up these two spreads. I love the colors of this, how they all came together. I love that I got so many photos in here. And you may notice, speaking of the journaling, I have not done a lot of journaling in this album. Last year for my first December daily, I did a good bit. I did, what I think would be maybe more than average. But having these large photos on so many of my spreads, sometimes I just feel like the photos themselves are kind of telling a lot of the story. And it's just a different format for me. So I have not done a lot of journaling, but, a few here and there, enough to tell the story when something needs to be said, I think. So I'm going to work on the next couple of spreads for another video and try to get back into a little bit more of a rhythm here and get caught up, you know, in air quotes. But I appreciate you stopping by so very much today. It means more to me than you will ever know. And if you enjoyed this video, I would love a thumbs up down below, as well as a subscribe if you have not already done that, and you can become a part of my little YouTube family. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'd love to have some discussion back and forth. And until I see you next time, take care of yourself, do something good for yourself, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.